All right, what's going on, guys? It is Monday, October the 20th. We want to welcome you to tonight's broadcast. This is End Time Headlines, news and headlines from a prophetic perspective. Of course, I'm your host, Ricky Scapel, the founder and the voice of End Time Headlines. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Seems like this weekend just flew by. This whole month is incredible. I mean, it's hard to believe that we're already on the 20th of October. We're closing out another month and getting that closer to the end of 2025. I want to welcome everybody to the broadcast tonight. If this is your first time joining us, please let us know in the comments that you're new and where you guys are tuning in from. And again, I want to welcome you. Our admins are going to welcome you. And if you haven't yet hit that like button, I want to encourage you to do that. That's going to help us push this out on the algorithms and let others be able to see our content. And take it a step further, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification as well. So guys, I want to be right up front and let you know that this week's going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to go as long on these broadcasts simply because I am in a stage right now where I'm trying to get as much rest as possible for my body to physically reset. I'm dealing with a flare-up of an autoimmune disease that I am believing the Lord for total healing of, but until that manifests, I have to do everything I can in my power to mitigate that and control that the best I know how. And I can't push myself beyond, a certain limit. So again, these are not going to go a full hour probably this whole week. And we will be heading out on Thursday. We're going out of town for a few days just to get some rest and relaxation. It'll be my family and I. And then we'll be back, of course, on Sunday night. So everything will resume as usual coming next week as well. So today, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about a few stories that circulated over the weekend. There were some interesting things that happened over the weekend and even into this morning. First thing I want to talk about is what happened this morning was very interesting. Let me pull this up. Here's the headline. Half the internet goes down after Amazon cloud outage, leaving millions unable to use Ring, Alexa, and banking apps. As experts say, quote, we can't rule out a cyber attack. Now, there is an update on this. Now, I know this is going to shock you. They come out and say it's not a cyber attack, folks. It was just simply another error. It was a DNS error, those pesky DNS errors. Nevertheless, guys, let's give you a video update on this, and we'll be right back.
So the breaking news this morning that many Americans are waking up to massive internet outage impacting major websites, major apps, gaming platforms, including Amazon, AT&T. Just look at this list. Delta Airlines, Disney Plus, Facebook, Hulu, Snapchat, United Airlines, Venmo. More than even I'm even mentioning there. At the center of this is Amazon Web Services, that major provider of cloud services for all sorts of companies. AWS says now it has identified the root cause and also saying this, that we continue to observe recovery across most of the affected AWS services. We continue to work towards full resolution and will provide updates as we have more information to share. Said another, we're not saying a lot right now. Let's get over to CNN's Bryn Gingras. I started noticing this morning on multiple levels as it was unfolding. What's happening?
Yeah, and that's basically it, right? So they connect the business to us, the consumer, through apps on your phone. So if you're waking up, you're tapping on an app, you're like, how come it's not working?
Exactly.
This is likely the problem.
You're getting like the ring of death.
Yeah, the ring of death.
Exactly.
They're actually saying, please submit to technical issues. Keep doing that, even though we're not answering them right now, or we are trying to get to them. There's basically a huge backlog. As you just said, there's been some significant progress in this. This happened way overnight. So there has been some, significant progress, but still there's a huge backlog of all these apps and all these companies that are looking to basically get restored. Yeah. So there's even issues at the airport. I'm hearing about people who are trying to check into their flights and they can't because they can't do it through the phone. So there's so many different companies, as you've just listed a whole bunch of them: Amazon, AT&T, Delta, gaming services, right, like Roblox, even cryptocurrency companies are being affected. Coinbase essentially saying, don't worry, your money is safe. So there are companies now having to also just kind of respond to consumers at this point. But like you just said, what Amazon Web Services is saying is that they are seeing significant signs of recovery, and they're continuing to work towards that full resolution, and they're going to continue to provide information as we have been seeing overnight continuous updates. But like I said, there are still a huge backlog here. So if you wake up and you can't figure out why something is not working, this is likely the culprit, and we're going to continue.
I mean, I started noticing it on various apps around like 3:30-ish this morning.
Why were you up at 3?
Yes, this is what time we wake up around here. But it really did start cascading. Like I even tried to get on the Wall Street Journal website, couldn't get on there for a period of time.
Yeah.
So
I mean, AWS makes up 30% of this global market space. So I mean, it is huge. I actually was doing a lot of research, and I can't believe how big this is, and it just really points to how fragile this infrastructure is should something happen like this.
I mean, understandably sparking fears of like vulnerabilities, of course, but let's see what happens throughout the morning. But Bryn's on top of this for us. Thank you so much, Bryn. Jimmy.
All right, with us now, Lance Ulanoff, editor-at-large for Tech Radar. Lance, great to see you. Kate says she noticed when she was reading the Wall Street Journal. I was reading FanDuel. I was on FanDuel this morning, and that wasn't working. But everything from the Journal to FanDuel to our big, beautiful walls here, tech going crazy just about everywhere, including in our studios. Can you explain how it is that this one thing can affect so many different things?
Well, first of all, the most important site that's down is Starbucks. That's number one. Number two, AWS sits in the middle of everything. It is, all of these companies, it's like why build the house, right? You're just going to live in it. And that's really how these companies work. They all have offloaded their web services, their cloud-based services to AWS, which is great because it's more affordable. It's also more scalable than they could do on their own. So that sounds great, except when it fails. And it feels like sometimes a single point of failure because everything goes down at once. And it's not just the services that you're accessing. Your smart home stops working. Ring which is actually owned by Amazon, is one of the impacted services. So your smart thermostat, your smart video doorbell, they just don't work without the internet. They're not designed that way. That's the thing. We've designed everything to work with this constant connectivity. And when you pull that big plug, everything basically becomes dumb.
When something does go wrong, in terms that non-tech people can understand, what is it? I mean, I don't think it's someone pulling a plug at a data center. What is the glitch that causes all of this?
I mean, usually it's like a translation service almost. It's like, okay, hi, you're trying to reach me. Who are you? And there's something that says, here's who I am. And they do a handshake and everything's okay. Well, that's the part of the service that basically broke. Where they couldn't identify each other. That one interconnection couldn't work. And this happened apparently in an East Coast area, an East Coast service center. They may have been in Virginia, but that one failure has had a global impact. I've been talking to people in the UK all morning, and they've been dealing with this because they're up earlier, longer than us.
My son in Taiwan can't get on Snapchat this morning. I mean, this truly is a global phenomenon. So what vulnerabilities then does this reveal? We don't know what caused this. We have no reason to believe it was a bad actor. But how attractive is this to a bad actor when they see this?
Right. Well, this is the problem. I continue to be confused about why there is not instant redundancy when you can have something that's seemingly so small or so localized have such a cascading and global impact. And we had CrowdStrike last year where all of these systems were running Windows and they all failed, and banks and airports failed. And it was like, well, why is it like that? And we don't seem to have a good answer for this yet. And I think part of the problem is the more consolidation we have and the fewer sort of competing web services we have, the more of a problem this is going to be. And yeah, it's not a good look. You certainly don't want someone to look at this and say, a bad actor, and say, hey, if I just make this one thing go down, I could create a cascading effect and all things can go down. And this could impact infrastructure. And that is a scary thought.
All right. So again, according to the report, this major outage affected half of the internet, with millions of people left unable to access sites including Snapchat, Fortnite, Duolingo, as well as several banking apps. According to the report, at 6:35 a.m. Eastern this morning on Monday, October the 20th, Amazon stated that their underlying issue has been, quote, fully mitigated, adding that most operations are, quote, succeeding normally now. However, the outage continues to wreak havoc around the globe. So this was a global thing, with millions of customers still experiencing issues accessing their favorite sites. Now, of course, by the time this airs tonight at this 8 p.m. Eastern hour, likely they'll have all this corrected and fixed and back up and running. But let me go on down here and let's read a little bit more about this. The issues began shortly after 8 a.m. BST or 3 a.m. Eastern. Interesting. According to Down Detector, which more than 6,000 reports from affected U.S. customers, another 1,600 users are counting, are affected in the United Kingdom. And according to Down Detector, a site that monitors internet outages, Jake Moore, a tech expert and security advisor at ESET, thinks the huge outage is likely due to, quote, an internal error at Amazon. Those darn internal errors again. But said we can't rule out a cyber attack at this stage. Speaking to the Daily Mail, he said, quote, while a cyber attack can't be ruled out until AWS releases its full post-incident report, there's no current evidence of hacking, data breaches, or coordinated attacks. Now, guys, do you really think, I mean, honestly, do you really believe that these people are going to come out and be honest with you? They're going to be straightforward with you, and they're going to tell you the truth. With the risk of panic, the risk of the ripple effect of this. Think about it. When you're talking about banking apps, this could be catastrophic. And I find it hard to believe that there's this many of these DNS errors taking place. These data breach errors, these updates, these whatever they're talking about, these data servers, this DNS server update. Because again, this is not affecting just the internet, but you're talking about cell phone companies as well. The big major cell phone companies. Remember when AT&T was down across the nation, and then T-Mobile was down across the nation, and then Verizon was down across the nation, and then the airlines were down, and all of these, none of these were a cyber attack, we're led to believe. None of them. I'm sorry, guys, I'm just not that gullible. I just don't believe that. And again, this particular outage impacted Snapchat, Ring, Roblox, Amazon services, MyFitnessPal, Life360, Cash Royale, Amazon itself, Fortnite, Canva, Signal. There's so many of these services that are all relying on the same network. It just shows you, once again, ladies and gentlemen, how vulnerable we are and how everything is literally at the mercy of the internet right now. And if, God forbid, if this was a dry run for a bigger event, it's going to show you guys just how bad we're going to be impacted by this. And then you move into an actual, a military operation being carried out by a foreign adversary, like an EMP, some type of detonation that would take place, or sophisticated hackers and cyber attacks that would take place. Look at the havoc it would wreak across our infrastructures. And it's not just these, a lot of these are gaming services and social media services, but think about the major infrastructure like the electric grid, the water companies that are tied to this. You've got all these are all intertwined together under one infrastructure across across these nations. And again, in my opinion, guys, this very well, and I know we have people on our Facebook page in the comment section saying, we're fear-mongering because we're posting this, and they come out and said it, the mainstream media said it's all good, and it was just a DNS error server, and that you guys are propagating fear-mongering, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is, the first mistake you have, sir, is believing that the mainstream media is for your best interest. The second mistake is believing that they're going to tell you the truth. I'm sorry, but I just don't buy it. I believe that this, yet again, could have been another dry run for an event down the road. And again, only time will truly tell when we move forward and see what takes place. Now let me shift gears here and talk about this. Who believed that the Gaza ceasefire between Israel and Hamas was actually going to hold up? I mean, I'd love to hear you in the chat if you actually believe that, because everybody I know did not believe this was going to be the case. And sure enough, you guys heard the news over the weekend. Israel ramped up its strikes in Gaza on Hamas terror targets after Hamas made a blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement. According to reports, Israel ramped up their airstrikes in Gaza over the weekend on terror targets after accusing Hamas of carrying out attacks in a bold violation of the Trump-brokered peace deal. The Israeli military said Hamas terrorists took part in, quote, multiple attacks beyond the yellow line buffer zone, calling it a blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement. Hamas fighters attacked Israeli forces with a rocket-propelled grenade and sniper fire, and an Israeli military spokesperson said both incidents happened in an Israeli-controlled area east of the yellow line. This is a bold violation of the ceasefire. The Israeli Defense Forces said it has now begun a wave of strikes in the southern Gaza Strip. There were no reports of immediate casualties after airstrikes hit Rafah in southern Gaza and the city of Jabalia. However, a doctor at Al Aqsa Hospital told BBC News that 6 Palestinians were killed and 7 others injured in an airstrike on Al Zawada in central Gaza. The strikes were a response to terror operatives in the Gaza Strip launching an attack on Israeli forces in Rafah, according to the Times of Israel. And again, here's another clip, and let's show you that.
Israel conducting an airstrike in Gaza overnight, saying that Hamas terrorists attacked Israeli troops on the ground there.
Israel is calling it a bold violation of the new ceasefire, putting the whole region on edge.
Trey Yingst is live in Tel Aviv with the very latest. Good morning, Trey. This is not good news.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. It's not good news. The Israeli military is currently striking the Gaza Strip. They say Hamas violated the ceasefire agreement. I spoke with one military official who said 2 separate attacks took place inside Israeli-controlled territory. One of them an RPG attack and the other a sniper attack conducted by Hamas. Most of the strikes this morning have taken place in the southern Gazan city of Rafah, but there is at least one report of a strike in the northern part of the enclave. This was a difficult moment for Israeli forces, having to make a decision about whether or not to start striking Gaza again. We also understand at this moment that there are warnings from the U.S. State Department against Hamas. Overnight, a statement was released by the U.S. State Department saying, quote, the United States has informed the guarantor nations of the Gaza peace agreement of credible reports indicating an imminent ceasefire violation by Hamas against the people of Gaza. And so we're looking at 2 separate things here. One, an attack by Hamas overnight on Israeli forces within the Gaza Strip. And 2, a warning from the U.S. State Department that Hamas is planning to target Palestinian civilians or the forces that are currently opposing their rule inside Gaza. All of this comes as Hamas released the bodies of 2 additional hostages overnight. We do know the name of one of those hostages from a kibbutz in the southern part of Israel. His name is Ronen Engel, and Israeli authorities released his name overnight after informing his family. This means that there are still 16 bodies belonging to hostages inside Gaza. Those bodies are supposed to be released by Hamas as part of this agreement, and they've been trickling out so far since the agreement went into place. But again, the latest information that we have right now, Israeli forces are indeed striking the Gaza Strip. The military confirms to Fox News after they say Hamas violated the ceasefire agreement. Guys?
Trey, really quick. So when Hamas violated that agreement and those rockets were shot over to Israel, were there civilians there? And then on the Israeli side, in their retaliation, are there civilians involved in that as well?
So we understand that Hamas violated the agreement by firing across the yellow line. This is the line that divides the Gaza Strip, where Israeli forces are currently in control and where Hamas is still in control. And according to this military official that I talked to, there were 2 separate attacks. One was an RPG attack and the other was a sniper attack targeting Israeli forces within Gaza. The Israelis still control about 53% of the Gaza Strip as part of phase 1 of this agreement. If the ceasefire moves forward, they will pull back. But this yellow line will continue to be something that we talk about. Over the weekend, a Palestinian family was killed after an Israeli tank fired on their vehicle. Now, the Israelis say that vehicle crossed the yellow line in violation of the ceasefire, and after warning shots were fired, they targeted the vehicle. And so this yellow line will continue to be a sticking point in the negotiations about where exactly the line is located. Of course, the Gaza Strip is around 30 miles long, and so it's very difficult to know the exact points along the enclave where Israeli forces are in control and where Hamas is in control. But the fact that Hamas has launched this blatant attack against Israeli forces is an indication that they are not adhering to the ceasefire agreement. To fire a rocket-propelled grenade and to conduct a sniper attack is a clear indication that Hamas still wants to fight inside Gaza. And Israeli forces have been very clear they will strike the Gaza Strip if Hamas violates the agreement. And already today, we understand, according to sources in Jerusalem, that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to hold security consultations as a result of this Hamas ceasefire violation. And there could be further actions by the Israelis. And of course, we do expect more communication to the intermediaries to try and get this back on track from a diplomatic angle. We know that Vice President J.D. Vance and also U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are scheduled to visit Israel this week, and they're going to be discussing how to keep this ceasefire in place and ensure that it doesn't collapse.
So, Trey, let's step back for a second. Do we have any indication that something led up to this? Did we see this coming? And also, has Hamas officially said anything about why they're doing this?
They have not. They have talked on propaganda channels on Telegram and other messaging sites that they use to release propaganda, confirming that they are launching attacks against forces inside Gaza that oppose their rule. And we saw last week those horrific execution videos of Hamas killing civilians they claimed that stole aid or were working with the Israelis. As for the attacks on Israeli forces, this isn't surprising. In the past, when there have been ceasefire in place and agreements that were reached, not only during this war, but previous wars that we have covered, Hamas has violated the agreement because they want to continue the fight against Israel. And oftentimes they'll do it in these very small ways, single attacks here and there. But what the Israeli military wants to do is set a precedent, a red line. And so if any of these attacks happen, according to officials that we've spoken with, they will immediately respond because they want a level of deterrence. The issue here is if this spirals out of control and the ceasefire collapses, because Hamas understands they no longer have the leverage of living hostages, but they still do have the bodies of 16 others. Hamas has not ever acted in good faith when it comes to these negotiations, and they have often violated ceasefire agreements. And so this isn't a surprising moment. It's a moment that the Israeli military prepared for. There are contingency plans in place. There is still drone monitoring over the Gaza Strip and the ability for the Israeli Air Force to strike Gaza. But it is certainly concerning from a diplomatic level because the Trump administration wants this ceasefire to move forward. They want the war to be over. And it is very challenging with Hamas still in control of just under half of the Gaza Strip because they are now controlling the streets of Gaza in the areas that they are still operating in. There are gunmen in the streets. They are executing their opponents. And as we saw early this morning, they are now launching new attacks on Israeli forces.
So, Trey, you've been covering this from the beginning and you've been covering these conflicts for many years now. What is your sort of gut feeling? Does this feel like something that is about to completely unravel, or is there still some hope that this might be a skirmish and that they might get back to the original ceasefire?
So I can tell you what's happening behind the scenes right now. Not only Israeli officials, but likely American officials, Egyptian officials, and Qatari officials are speaking every hour to try to get this back on track. The challenging part here, having covered this region all the way back to the war in 2014, is that Hamas is an organization that's very challenging to control. They don't operate in the way that a normal state would operate, or even a paramilitary group. This is a terrorist organization. And so even if their officials in Qatar or in Turkey or even inside the Gaza Strip say they're willing to adhere to the ceasefire agreement, it's a splintered organization that is fighting with guerrilla tactics. And so they can easily launch attacks in different locations to try to pressure Israeli forces that are inside Gaza. And the fear here is that this unravels into a broader ceasefire violation by Hamas, and then the war resumes, and that there's pressure on the Israelis to basically continue the war. Remember, Hamas agreed to disarm. They agreed to lay down their weapons. And I asked President Trump about this in our interview last week, and he said he still expects Hamas to adhere to the agreement. The challenging part here is if they don't lay down their weapons and they continue to fire on Israeli forces inside Gaza, the war is going to resume. And so that's the negotiating part. That's what comes next. There will be consultations that take place not only today, but into next week with Egyptian and Qatari officials to try to send a message to Hamas that's very simple. The war will resume if you don't lay down your weapons and stop these attacks on Israeli forces. They still do have a small arsenal of weapons inside Gaza, and as they've shown today, they're willing to use them.
All right, now let's pull this together and let's have a little talk about this. We know, guys, that again, according to the scripture, no peace agreement is going to hold together. Not even the Daniel 9:27 covenant with many. Even it will only last 3.5 years or 42 months. And then after that, it's going to, the Antichrist who comes along and confirms that covenant, he will be the one who breaks that covenant. So what makes us think, we come on, guys, we can't be that gullible as Americans and as Westerners that we actually believe that this peace agreement is going to hold together. It's not going to happen. And we know that. We've talked about that. We've discussed that in detail in multiple podcasts that we've done throughout the past weeks that we've done this and we've reported on this. Again, watch for these things to unravel. They'll continue to escalate. In my opinion, it'll unravel, it'll escalate, and it'll get so bad that again, the entire world, including the United Nations and these global elites and world leaders, they will all come together and they will demand a long-lasting peace. Now, Trump believes that he was responsible for this, first person in 3,000 years to do this. But again, according to the word of God, my friend, from what I understand, what I believe, the only individual that is going to be able to be successful in holding together any, and I use quotation marks, long-term peace agreement is going to be the Antichrist himself. And that is a 3.5-year, 42-month treaty, Daniel 9:27. And then even that won't hold because it will be broken, because Paul said sudden destruction shall come upon them unexpectedly. So we must expect this. This is nothing that should catch any of us off guard if we know the scriptures. Remember, Paul said, "You, my brethren, are not in darkness, that this day should overtake you, as it's going to the majority." So again, stick in the word, stay in the word of God, and you will not be caught off guard with this, and you won't be shocked and surprised by this. And it's not like the Hamas has had a history of being compliant to ceasefires and compliant to peace. I mean, come on, guys, get real, get serious here. But now Trump seems to, things have kind of calmed down there with Israel and Hamas for now. I don't suspect it'll be very long, but I think it'll probably ramp back up again for sure. But in the meantime, it appears that he has shifted gears now, and his focus is back on Putin and Zelensky. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I'm going to pull this up. I thought this was interesting. According to reports, Trump's private blow-up with Zelensky has been revealed. Now, what is this talking about? Let's read a little bit of this. Quote, "Another meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky has reportedly ended with a fiery shouting match. Well, this time it took place behind closed doors. No cameras, no reporters. Trump was pressuring his Ukrainian counterpart to accept Russia's terms for a ceasefire during an explosive White House meeting that took place this past Friday. According to Financial Times, Trump reportedly tells Zelensky that, quote, Russia would destroy Ukraine if he doesn't agree. Wow. Multiple sources told the outlet that the meeting, where Zelensky was hoping but ultimately failed to secure long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles, quickly descended into a, quote, shouting match with cursing all the time. Now, guys, I'm gonna let you guess who was doing most of the cursing. I'm going to probably go with Donald Trump. And I base that upon, I don't know if you saw his recent spat with Venezuela, but he used a very strong term when he basically warned them, don't blank with us, okay? And he used a 4-letter explicit there, and we shared that on our Facebook page and Telegram page. According to sources, the scene resembled that of Zelensky's infamous Oval Office visit in February, where he was berated by Vice President, J.D. Vance, for not voicing enough thanks for U.S. help in the war against Russia before a shouting match ensued. Zelensky was also accused of being, quote, disrespectful to the U.S. for not wearing a suit and tie, and was reportedly all but forced out of the White House. Now, this is all past tense. This time around, Trump demanded that Zelensky surrender the entire Donbas region to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Wow. European officials told the Financial Times that Trump repeated many of Putin's talking points verbatim during the meeting, telling Zelensky he was losing the war and that if Putin wants it, he will destroy you. The outlet reported that Zelensky was very negative after the meeting. According to one official, and the European leaders were, quote, not optimistic, but pragmatic with planning next steps. Okay, the tense encounter came after Trump reportedly spoke with Putin by phone and seemingly welcomed the Russian dictator back in his good graces. Wow. On True Social, and they keep referring to Putin as the dictator here, so just to let you know, guys, listening by Apple or by Spotify, on True Social, Putin wrote that, or he congratulated Trump and on his, quote, great accomplishment of peace in the Middle East, and suggested that, quote, his success in the Middle East will help in our generation in attaining an end to the war with Russia and Ukraine. He added that high-level advisors from the U.S. and Russia would meet next week at an as-yet undisclosed location, and that he would then meet personally with Putin in Budapest, Hungary, to see if we can bring this inglorious war between Russia and Ukraine to an end. Let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comments. What do you think is going to come of this? What do you think about Trump's attitude towards Zelensky? Do you agree with him telling Zelensky that he's going to have to give up all these regions to Putin, and if Putin wants, he can destroy him? Or do you believe it's a bad deal? Do you believe it's a bad decision for Trump to be bullying Zelensky and telling him what he's telling him? Again, love to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments. All right, here's something else that caught my attention. You remember the mysterious Chinese spy balloon? Remember that? The nonsense that took place under the Biden administration? Look at this headline. Mystery spy balloons appearing over several U.S. states spark fears of a covert invasion. What? Tell me that we're not happening. Tell me this is not happening again. Americans are once again, yes, ladies and gentlemen, looking skyward, and an alarm as mysterious guys, high altitude balloons silently drift over multiple states. How is this happening? Come on, guys, something is up with this. This has to be known by our U.S. government. This has to be known by high up officials. This has to be our doing. There's no way. Surely we're not that dumb that under the Biden administration and now under the Trump administration, we just let foreign spy balloons just hover and pass right over our states here in the country. Are you seriously? I mean, what is going on here, guys? Let me say that again. Americans are once again looking up in the air as mysterious high-altitude balloons are silently drifting over multiple states. And let me say it again, balloons, plural tense, not balloon. Multiple states, plural. Rekindling fears of foreign surveillance and government secrecy. Why are they not being shot out of the sky? Unbelievable. Reports from Colorado. Let me know if you live in any of these states, Arizona and Alabama. That's a wide sector right there. Describe white objects. Have you seen these, guys? Hovering far above the clouds, eerily reminiscent of the 2023 Chinese spy balloon incident. Let me know in the comments if you're seeing this stuff. That event sparked nationwide panic when a suspected Chinese surveillance balloon crossed the continental U.S. before being shot down by a fighter jet over the coast of South Carolina. For many, the sudden reappearance of the enigmatic objects raises fresh questions. Yeah, about who or what is watching from above. Locals have flooded social media with photos and videos of the strange balloons, pleading for help in identifying them. All right, so here's one. Apparently, this was spotted in September 17th. So this was last month.
It is round.
Again, weather balloon, spy balloon, I don't know. I'm just sharing with you what this is. A user, Wheezy F214. This is on TikTok. Sharon, look at that. Again, don't know, guys. This could be a weather balloon. Let me know in the chat. We're just sharing some photos here. All right, let me go back to this. While some observers believe the objects may be part of a routine research project, others are convinced they are now, quote, new Chinese spy balloons designed to gather intelligence. In Tucson, Arizona, multiple sightings have been reported this year, with one prompting speculation that it was a, quote, spy camera platform from China transmitting military secrets in fast bursts. However, later reports determined that at least one of the Tucson objects was part of a U.S. military test, which stirred fresh concerns among privacy advocates. Here's a zoomed-in picture. This is from Arizona of a local there that spotted this thing in the sky. Again, this is in Arizona. Here's Flight Radar 24. It's showing where these objects are popping up. Again, this is over Arizona. Jay Stanley, a senior policy analyst at the American Civil Liberties Union, told the Arizona Mirror, quote, it's a technology that should not and consistently cannot be applied to the American people. Even testing for eventual overseas use in the legitimate combat theaters raises a lot of questions about what kind of data is being collected. The most recent incident in Arizona was reported about 2 weeks ago when a balloon was spotted drifting over Lemon. Social media users attempted to track the balloon on flight monitoring apps, but were unsuccessful, fueling suspicion about its purpose. Not showing on Flight Radar 24, though, like others have in weeks past, one Reddit user wrote, another chimed in, quote, I saw it a few minutes ago outside. Usually they're at 60,000 feet. It must be huge. Earlier sightings in June caused a stir when multiple high-altitude balloons lingered over Tucson and Sierra Vista areas for more than a week, leaving residents on edge. Again, guys, I want to hear if there's anybody from Arizona tuning in. I want to hear from you. Have you seen this stuff, or wherever you're at? If it's in Alabama or Colorado, or these places have been showing us. In Boulder, Colorado, locals reported seeing what was later identified as an Aerostar Thunderhead steerable balloon. Okay, it's not just a weather balloon, one Reddit user explained. It can also carry signal gathering equipment, communications equipment, or other sensors. Again, here is a shot at this is the one we showed you the video of on TikTok. This is from Colorado above Boulder. Okay, here's another video that you're looking at on the screen where this image is seen, this white image. A meteorologist also determined that a balloon seen over Alabama belonged to Aerostar. So some of these can be explained, but some of these cannot, or there's no official explanation of where, who, and what they're doing, where they belong to, who they belong to, what's their purpose, what agenda is it. So we've got this stuff going on again. And if you're expecting to get answers, I wouldn't hold your breath. I'm just saying, I wouldn't hold your breath. Now, I got one more story for you. Like I said, guys, we're not going to keep you long tonight. And we'll be back tomorrow night, Lord willing, on the 21st with another update. But this was kind of this was a little scary report that came out. I want to talk about this as we're closing out this segment today. Again, a lot of stuff happened over this weekend, guys, that I want to talk about. Did y'all see this? Trump is forced to board Air Force One via small stairs due to, quote, increased security measures after a suspicious structure was discovered near the airport. All right, Donald Trump was forced to board Air Force One on Sunday via the small stairs due to heightened security measures after a, quote, suspicious hunting stand was discovered nearby. The president left Palm Beach International Airport on Sunday to return to Washington, D.C. after the, quote, suspicious structure was discovered on Friday. One White House official said the discovery led to the implementation of heightened security measures on Sunday as Trump returned to the airport. FBI Director Kash Patel said, quote, the elevated hunting stand was within sightline of the Air Force One landing zone. How convenient is that? The FBI has since taken the investigatory lead, flying in resource to collect all evidence from the scene and deploying our cell phone analytics capabilities. The stand has not been tied to any individual. Wow. Here we go again, guys. I'm going to pull this back and go on my little rant here, and then y'all can bear with me on my folly. But I don't believe anything about that the FBI has to say. The Butler, Pennsylvania attempted assassination on Trump reeked of inconsistencies, lies, fabrications, and cover-ups. We all know that. We've discussed that in the past. We moved on from that. Then here came the Charlie Kirk incident, riddled with all kinds of holes in that story. Things don't add up. We did a whole podcast on that. I'm not going to rehash all that stuff. But if you actually believe the official narrative on that, you're not digging deep enough. And you're not using common sense. Everything from the bullet that was used, the fact that it did not penetrate his neck, it didn't explode through his neck, and his spinal cord was so strong that it deflected a 30-06 bullet. The fact that this amateur was able to break down this gun as fast as he did with a screwdriver, and we could go on and on and on, but we're never going to know the truth, guys. We're never going to know the full truth. And here we are, once again, with another weird, and I didn't even talk about the attempted assassination from the golf course of Trump. Remember that guy? And we don't know nothing about that guy either. We don't know nothing about the guy in Butler, Pennsylvania. We don't know much about the guy that would try to take him out the golf course. It's just unbelievable. It's gotten so ridiculous. But now we're being told that this deer stand was, quote, within sightline of the Air Force One landing zone. I mean, it just happened to be there, guys. It's just a coincidence. It just happened to be there. And it happened to be that it's not been tied to any individuals. We don't know how it came. It just popped up and it was just generated in the tree. Some kid was, and I'm being facetious here, some kid was playing Minecraft, and he crafted a deer stand in the tree, and it was able to generate in a real world scenario. I mean, nobody knows where it came from, but it's there. Quote, it was found perched in a tree near where Trump usually exits the presidential jet. It's so convenient, isn't it? There was no ammunition found nearby, and the finding was described as a, quote, odd collection of pipes. Trump has been known to host press conferences before boarding the plane in the past, chatting freely with reporters and answering questions about the news of the day. And here, look at this. Here's this quote unquote mystery deer stand facing Air Force One, facing the step when Trump gets off the plane. Nobody knows who it's tied to. Nobody knows where it came from, but it's there. That's where it's at. But on Sunday, he boarded the aircraft quickly and on a smaller staircase due to the heightened risk. Trump's son, Eric, earlier praised the president's security detail for, quote, finding the bizarre potential hazard. Okay, so these guys can find a deer stand in the woods and trees off the side of the aircraft in Florida, but we couldn't see a shooter on the roof of the campus there at Utah. At the Utah University where Charlie Kirk was shot, nobody could see the shooter get up on the roof, perched on the roof, assemble the gun, no drones, nothing. Nobody saw that, right? That's what we're told. Nobody saw that, but they're able to spot this. Yeah, okay. Quote, while we're not able to provide details about the specific items or the intent, this incident underscores the importance of our layered security measures. The discovery came also less than a month after Ryan Roth was found guilty on all charges related to the September 2024 plot to kill the president, at that time, the president-elect candidate, Donald Trump. Trump's would-be assassin began stabbing himself in the neck with a pin in a Florida courtroom after jurors reached a unanimous verdict last month. He managed to get close to Trump as the now president partook in a round of golf at his Trump International Golf Club property in West Palm Beach, Florida. Roth, I think that's his name, was arrested after he was seen holding a rifle through a fence by a Secret Service agent. Another attempt was made on Trump's life at a presidential campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania in July of last year. So guys, these lunatics are not going to stop. And who is the lunatics? Honestly, is it just, as we're led to believe, some wacko far left groups? Or is this a more sinister plot and plan that is being perpetrated here? I'm telling you guys, we need to start asking these questions. And I think we better use some discernment because things are going to get crazy. And what do we need to do? We need to be in prayer about this. We need to just keep our heads on a swivel. And because I think we've got a long 3 years, guys, left. A little over, we're getting ready to go into 2026, and then we're going to have about 2 years after that. So we're not even the halfway mark yet. So we've got a long way to go. And we've had this many of these crazy things happening now. What's going to happen next year? What's going to happen, when we get closer and closer to the next election? This is unbelievable, but it's perilous times. These are perilous times that we live in. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, again, I wanted to get on here. Didn't want to take a long time tonight. Wanted to get you updated on a few stories I thought was worth talking about and having a discussion about today. Again, as always, I welcome your thoughts in the comments, in the chat there on our YouTube channel, whatever the case may be that you're joining us. We always welcome that. And we always leave you with Luke 21:28. Jesus said, when you begin to see all of these things coming to pass, look up and lift up your heads because your redemption is drawing near. Amen. So guys, if you don't have our free app, I want to encourage you to pick it up today. It's available on Apple and Android devices. You can grab it from the Play Store, whatever that looks like for you. Download it today. Hit yes to push notifications, and you're going to be squared away. Everything right at your fingertips. Breaking news, prophecy updates, headlines, everything will be right there. If this ministry blesses you, encourages you, informs you, equips you, all of the above, we keep you up to par on everything that's going on from a prophetic, biblical perspective, as well as there's times that we come in, we do equipping messages and edifying messages. And if you enjoy all of our content and you wish to partner with us, watch this short clip and it's going to show you how you can become a partner of End Time Headlines, and we'll be right back.
If you enjoy our content and would like to partner with End Time Headlines, helping us make more people aware of the times and seasons which we are in from a prophetic perspective, you can go to endtimeheadlines.org and click Support. Here you can give a one-time gift or a monthly pledge on our main website. This page also shows you how to give electronically through Cash App or Venmo. If you would like to give by check or money order, you can make it out to End Time Headlines at P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia 30655. Or you can give through our free End Time Headlines app by pressing the bottom right button that says Donate.
All right, as always, guys, thank you so much for your generous support and your partnership of our ministry. We're going to sign off for this Monday night. We will plan on being back here tomorrow night on the 21st, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here. Same time, same place, same channel. Again, as always, I appreciate your prayers as well. Again, we're praying for the Lord's mercy and His grace to get my strength back and to get recovered fully so that we can get right back in the saddle and continue, riding in this thing that we're doing here to try to finish out and finish strong in the kingdom and what the Lord has for us in these final days. So again, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And until we see you guys on the next one, I pray the Lord bless you, keep you, and may His countenance shine upon you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.